Salute, comrades. This is Behind the Walls Talk with your founder, William McCallum, and I thank you for visiting this domain. I'm here to give you an insight into the minds and hearts of those incarcerated that have been deemed voiceless. Well, this is where their voice and stories will be told for those of you who are concerned with human beings that are in prison for the mistakes they have made and for some of the injustices that were committed against them. Resolutions for reform is the goal and objective looking to be attained. Now step into our world. Welcome to Behind the Walls Talk with your host, William McCallum. I have a brother here with me today whom has had a rough life from poverty to incarceration, whereas to where he was unjustly convicted of a crime he did not commit. So if you will, please listen to his story and feel for this brother's pain and struggle. So without further ado, tell the listeners, my brother, where you're from and who you are.
I'm from Bladen County, a little small rural town outside of Fayetteville or Lumberton. And my name is Christopher Michael Leach. And I was convicted of a crime in 2006. The crime happened in 2004. I had a lawyer to take me to trial saying that he could win the case with just the identification.
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
With misidentification approach without doing any type of investigation whatsoever. So when the lawyer was appointed to represent me, he told the judge that his case was overloaded. And the judge insisted that he represent me. And at that point, I had asked the judge to be placed in a photographic lineup for anybody to identify me that was involved in the crime, whether it was co-defendants, victims, or whoever. And the judge said he had no problem with it, that the lawyer would have to do it because he was representing me. And then I also went further and asked for a private investigator. And he told me the same thing about the lawyer. And none of the stuff never happened. But there was a picture that was in my discovery, and under the picture it said, create a lineup. I never got a copy of no photographic lineup. If a lineup was created, they held the evidence because I never seen it. It was not made a part of my discovery. Further, while I sat in the jail, I told the lawyer that it was people that could identify where I was at. It was an alibi. The people that I was with, which was 3 other individuals. And he never hired a private investigator, never asked for a private investigator, or none of that whatsoever. And I just went to trial and got convicted. You know, when he could have went out and did an investigation and found out the guys that I was with on the way to New Jersey, New York. Plus, we stopped at Virginia Beach. You know, we stopped at about 4 or 5 places on the way to New York. I was going to see 2 of my sisters in New York. And the guys have lately wrote a statement saying that I was with them and they would be willing to testify that, you know, I had left with them from out of the state of North Carolina on the way to New York. And the lawyer that the Indigent Defense Service had told to investigate the case, the only thing he done was read the trial transcript, and then depended on me to find the people that was the alibi witnesses. He depended on me to find them while I'm still incarcerated. Basically the same thing that the lawyer that was my trial lawyer that was supposed to represent me and didn't really do nothing. Then when we went to trial, we also got a surprise attack with a set of letters. We got a surprise attack with a statement that had came from one of the guys that had kicked the people's doors in and openly admitted that he was involved in the crime, that said that I had nothing to do with it and that they had the wrong person. And then there was also other evidence to prove that it was somebody else involved because the witnesses, the victims said that it was a 6-something guy that came in their home, and then the lady said that when one of the tall guys came in her home, that they reached up and opened the attic. And I'm only 5'7". I didn't reach up and open nothing. I got to stand on stuff. I don't even think I'm quite 5'7", right at it. But anyway, all of that was evidence to prove that somebody else was involved, and the investigator done nothing to go and communicate with the names that was called. There was fingerprints on the victim's car.
This call is from the North Carolina Correctional Facility.
Because one of the victims was brought all the way from Gibson County all the way to Robinson County. So the car had fingerprints on it, and the fingerprints matched the guy that opened it and said that he kicked the door in and put the victims on the floor. And another guy named Christopher Chase's fingerprints was on the car from around in the Robinson County area and Cumberland County. All this area is basically in the same area. The detectives never went and did an investigation to communicate with him, to ask him what role did he play in this situation, nor did they even go to communicate with him to ask him who was with him when his fingerprints got put on the car. Nor did they ever even speak to me about the crime, period. And, I thought when people get charged with first-degree kidnappers and crimes like this of this nature, that it's always a procedure for the investigator to speak with them. And I'm openly saying that the investigator never had a conversation with me. So with that being said, there was other co-defendants that was involved that openly admitted that they had something to do with the crime, openly admitted that they set the crime up, and they got 18 months to 3 years in prison when I got almost 50 years in prison.
Mr. Leach, what was the exact charges you were charged with, Mr. Leach?
I had 2 first-degree kidnapping charges.
This call is from a North Carolina Correctional Facility.
And a robbery charge. I had 4 charges. 4 charges. And they gave me 3 different sentences. I got 3 different sentences that add up to 46 to somewhere between 46 to 50 years. 3 different sentences. And the reason why I've been incarcerated from 2004. I was arrested in New Jersey in September the 17th, 2004, and I've been incarcerated the whole time. But this is a most important thing. They said that whoever robbed the people's house took $100,000 and some thousand. Okay. Now, like I said, I was brought down here. I had a $35,000 bond. I couldn't even make bond. $35,000 bond, man. All they would have took was what? $3,500 to make bond, or $3,000. I couldn't even make bond. And they accused me of this crime, man, and I ain't have nothing to do with this crime. I had nothing to do with this crime. Then they had a female in Robinson County named Tracy Nicole Jacobs that stated that it was people at the house and an old man that was tied up at the house. She identified another guy that was from the High Point area that they never went and investigated to try to see who he was. Then somebody, one of the other people said that, I think it was the guy that kicked the door in, said that he paid another guy to take the guy back to High Point. So this openly reveals that there was somebody else that was involved from that area. Not only that, man, when I studied this trial transcript, I thought about it. I said, hey, in order for somebody to just walk in somebody's house and pull down an attic, they done been in the house before. They've been in the house before. And the guy named that the guy called out And the guy named that the detectives they had his name. And they put his fingerprints through to see if his fingerprints would come up on anything. They never went and talked to him. Never even had a conversation with him. So, the investigation was, basically, it wasn't done right. The photographic lineup wasn't done right. It's a whole lot of things that wasn't done right on both sides.
Yeah, I could definitely,
not just my lawyer.
I could definitely see where you were unjustly convicted of this crime, especially when you have nobody that could put you in the scene of the crime. Nobody, you got the co-defendants and everything. Everybody making statements on their behalf, stating that you were not present. Like you say, with the lineup, the photographic lineup, nobody could point you out in the photographic lineup, and everything that was going against you and everything that they said that they had against you was just falsely. So you were falsely accused of committing this crime. I can definitely see where your pain and your struggles is coming from, my brother.
Yeah, man. Hey, and this is the most shocking information, man. It's very shocking. I had one person that they said that I am, and this is the guy that kicked the door in. The female said she was asleep. She said she kept opening off, see her name, and she was directly in the middle of the crime as well, because, during the course of my travels, I've seen people on the yard.
60 seconds remaining.
She had something to do with the crime. And man,
excuse me, please. Hold that thought. Behind the Walls Talk will continue.
Okay.
Back to Behind the Walls Talk with Chris Leach. Could you continue to elaborate on what you said, my brother?
Okay. Thank you, brother. This is some very shocking information that I recovered later on through one of the people that I tried to get my lawyer.
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
To go and speak to see if she still had the motel receipt that we had used, me and the guys that was on that trip. And they had wrote her, the first lawyer had wrote her address down, her phone number and everything on the front page of the prosecution summary. And he was trying to get me to plead guilty to 2 Class C level 4 charges. And I was like, man, I'm not pleading guilty. I don't know nothing about this. I ain't never been to this area, period. So anyway, to make a long story short, they never went to go see if she had a motel receipt. None of that. I had her own self-provided.
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility
That I drew up and filed in the Gifford County Clerk's office on May the 9th, 2006. And all the people's names that I had on the alibi witness list, which was 22 of them, the lawyer didn't speak to not now one of them. And it was an alibi defense witness list. And I only done it because the lawyer had already showed me that he wasn't going to do no investigation. So I filed that document so it would be on file, trying to force him to do an investigation, hoping that the judge would see it and then start to question him about the document itself and ask him had he spoke to anybody that was on the alibi witness list. But he never talked to anybody. So years went past, and I finally got back in contact with this sister through my mother. And just so happened, it was around the time that my little sister had committed suicide. And she was at my mother's house, basically, there to support her and everything. And I called on the phone, and she was there, and she was like, "Hey, how you doing?" So I was like, I'm all right. And I was like, "Look, do you still got that motel receipt?" And she was like, "Nah, I lost it somewhere. I don't know where it's at. I lost it." So I asked her right then and there, "Look, I got this man that's supposed to be investigating my case that the Indigent Defense Service had said that they was private contracting with because it was a conflict of interest for the North Carolina Prison Legal Service to attempt to represent me because they had already represented one of the co-defendants. Okay? And she said, nah, I lost it. I've been moving around and I don't no longer live down here no more. I live in Raleigh. So I'm like, dang on, man. So I'm like, okay, well, you had it. Did a lawyer ever come and talk to you? And she was like, nah, I ain't never seen a lawyer. There ain't no lawyer come and talk to me. So I asked her, look, would you be willing to write an affidavit about a lawyer not coming to talk to you? And she said, yeah, I don't got no problem with doing that. Ain't no lawyer call me or come talk to me. And they had her phone number. And not only did they have her phone number, they had her address. It's still on the front page of my I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at it. Okay. And that's just one of the things. I'm looking at my alibi witness defense list. That's another thing. I'm looking at this fingerprint thing where these guys' fingerprints was on the car. The detectives never went and talked to her. That's another thing. And I'm looking at, finally, the prosecutor, which was a guy named Randy Kerr. He was the district attorney, assistant district attorney, that prosecuted my case. And it says D.A. Skulls, deputy on evidence in trial, Randy Kerr's failure to disclose evidence to the defense violates the district attorney's open file policy. So she dug this up. For some apparent reason, she was doing something. I don't know what she was doing, but all I know is that this fell in her lap, and she sent it to me. And I was like, whoa. So then I went back into my trial transcript because I thought I remembered something, and then I had to think about it. I did remember it, but I went back into the trial transcript, and I found that he said that him and the detective had been going over to the jailhouse to talk to the female defendant with her lawyer. And I thought about it. I said, well, that wasn't a part of my discovery. Is nowhere in my discovery where he had these conversations with her at the jailhouse. But he openly admitted on file that he and the detective was going over there to talk to her. And I thought that the law was that any time that they talk to anybody involved in the case, that it has to be made a part of the record. So when I got this, I said, okay, now it's coming out. All the truth is coming out about who he is. So yeah, that was another document that I had gained access to. And
this call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
I had other people that said at my trial that the lawyer never talked to, didn't ask nothing about me or none of that. He just didn't do his job, man. He didn't do his job. He depended on the identification. I guess they got a name for it. He depended on the taunting of the identification, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough for that jury that I had. They got tired and they just said, "Yo, okay, we just found him guilty." The Bella told me they was in there arguing. He was like, "Man, hey, they in there arguing, man. You might have to have another trial." But neither here nor there. Like I said,
this call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
The DA withheld information, all types of stuff.
Let's turn the temperature a little bit right here, man. What was your childhood like?
Man, I went through some rough stuff, man. Like I said, my mother was poor. You know, she was abused by her husband, beat in tears, beat in blood, and I was little baby watching all this growing up, man. And then she finally had the courage to leave. But by the time she left me, it had already been soaked into my mind of what I seen, the abuse. And then she started to abuse me. And after a period of time of me being abused, I growed into a state of hating people. And I was just like, I wouldn't focus in school. I couldn't focus because I had to worry about when I got home whether I was going to get a whooping or not. And she was one of them mothers that would make me go and wash and then whoop me with switches and put webs all over my body. She almost lost me one time. Social service got involved because my social studies teacher seen the webs all on my neck. So she almost lost me, but I told them I would run away from wherever they placed me. So they left me there, and she didn't whoop me no more, but the abuse was already soaked in and a part of my DNA, man. It was just so bad of what we had to go through, and then we was poor. That made it even worse. We lived in a poverty-stricken tin-roof house where I had to get up early in the morning and go pump water. You know, we didn't have no toilets in the house. We had to use pots to, like pails. We call them pails, plastic pails. The defecate in and urinate in. You know, we were staying in my great grandmama and grandfather house. It was a little tin roof shack, really. It didn't have no one. My father had got murdered when I was 2 years old. And when I grew up without a father. I didn't have no father. And the guys that my mother did associate with, they was not good father figures because they didn't have nothing going on with their lives either. The only thing they had going on was drugs and alcohol. That was the most part in my house, drugs and alcohol. So when I grew up, I went in the streets. I started using drugs, you know, and it got me where I wasn't able to think straight, and I ended up going to detention centers, and from detention centers to training schools, from training schools to prison, youth centers, stuff like that. And like I said, I had did my prison bid, and I came home, I had a different change of mind. And I couldn't get no job. I went from place to place trying to get a job. They wouldn't give me no job because I didn't have a license at the time. You know, it takes insurance, a bunch of money to get licensed, and I couldn't even afford that. My family couldn't afford it. They couldn't help me get it. And like I said, man, my family was just poor. You know, that's why I'm sitting here right now.
I'd like to ask you too, man, because you know I had this thing about the youth and everything. So I'd like to ask you, what is it that you would like to say to the youth out there now that are being misled and find a life of crime intriguing, that finds drugs and things of that sort to cope with their pain and struggles that they've been through as well as yourself?
Man, you know, I speak to these young guys a lot in here, and I strive to get them away from that way of life. It only leads to destruction of death. And the destruction that it leads to, it destroys you and your whole family because it leads you to prison with a whole lot of time. So while you're in prison, you're affecting your family. Your family is very hurt by their child being away from them. They want to be around their child. They want to grow up with their child. So when we come into these prisons, we ain't just doing time ourselves. Our family doing time with us. They just as much as locked up as we is, man. And, you know,
you have 60 seconds
always wanted to be able I always wanted to be able to go out and speak to the youth, man, and try to deter them from being affiliated and associated with that type of lifestyle because it don't lead to nothing but destruction, you know. And I awfully write essays in here about it, man, trying to get these guys to stay away from that type of activity, man. Because ain't nobody gonna love you like your family gonna love you. There ain't nobody gonna love you like you gonna love yourself.
30 seconds remaining.
Even when you think they love you, man. Yeah.
If you hold that thought, if you will, hang on, call back. Behind the Walls Talk, we'll continue. Behind the Walls Talk is back with my brother, Mr. Chris Leach. And Mr. Leach, you were saying about the youth now?
Yeah, I basically wanted to let the youth know that, you know, when you think that you're proving something to somebody, you're really not proving nothing to nobody. And when you try so hard to prove something to somebody, you only lose your life. And nobody else care about it. Nobody else care about what you thought that you was trying to prove to them. Because that's gone. That's gone. And one thing about the judicial system, the courtroom don't love nobody. It don't love nobody, and it's not fair. So if you think you're gonna go in there and get something fair, you ain't gonna get nothing fair. And if you think you're gonna get something fair in the culture that you are dealing with, and with these brothers that you think that love you, that you're running up and down the road with, you ain't gonna get nothing fair. When you come in the prison system or when you get locked up,
this call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
They ain't gonna do nothing for you. They ain't gonna do nothing for you. They just gonna leave you in a situation that you're in, and then you're gonna have to turn right back to your family that you ran away from or that you didn't want to.
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
That you didn't want to associate with because you had so much love for the gang that you was dealing with. And I'm telling you right now, I see it in here. I watch it every day. I look at it. I see how these guys just use other guys. And that's what the gangs do. They use brothers. Just like they use you. And if anybody out there is listening right now and you're a young brother, I advise you to go back to school and go do what's right, man. Because this don't love nobody. This don't love nobody, man. I've been in here for a long time, man. And I've been in here walking the hallways for a crime that I ain't even commit. But I took it on the chin, and I'm still fighting. I'm fighting for my life, man. I done lost my little sister. I lost a son last year to drugs. He had all types of drugs in the system. Not only did he have drugs in the system, he had gangs posted in his veins. He had that in his veins, man. He loved it, that stuff. And when he got locked up, they didn't do nothing for him. When he died, guess who buried him? They didn't bury him. They didn't pay for the funeral. His family had to pay for it. All the love had been out the one. It's just a way to use you. It's just a way to use you. But your family gonna love you. Your mama gonna love you. Your father gonna love you. Your auntie gonna love you. Even your grandmother gonna love you. One thing about Southern families, they gonna love you. But you gotta first love yourself. If you don't care about yourself, ain't nobody else gonna care about you. Because you're gonna do things where you're gonna make them not care about you. That's what I've done. I did those things. My son done them before he died of an overdose. That's your walk of life. That's where you walk to. Most people in gangs, they start indulging in drugs. They start indulging in violence. They indulge in things that's either going to lead them to the prison system or things that's either going to lead them to the graveyard. And guess what? A man that's in the graveyard ain't bad no more. A man that's in that coffin is not bad no more. He's just dead. And now you done missed your purpose. You done missed your whole purpose in life. When you could be at home supporting your family, helping your family. I'm looking at these young guys walking around, man, and they didn't hear, man, they lost with no sense of direction, man, because they didn't go to school. They didn't get no education. Now they in here trying to figure out where to go, how to go, and what to do. And guess what? In most cases, the only thing that they do is ask, hey, man, when something is done wrong or when they are done wrong, hey, man, will you help me? Will you help me? It's the same thing in society. It's no different. The same thing in society. When you out there, you running, and then you get locked up for something you done for them. You done something for a big brother or somebody that you call, you know, your big homie, and you done something. Now he won't even send your money order. Now he won't make sure you can get some food. And here it is, you done something crazy for him. You got to learn how to do something for yourself. That's where I lacked that. I didn't want to do nothing for myself. And then when I did want to do something for myself, I was doing the wrong thing. I was in the street selling drugs, you know, and I made all the excuses in the world because I was poor, you know, and what I had went through. You know, all those things were just excuses, man. They were just excuses. One thing about us, we like to make a lot of excuses. We don't like to do what's right. We need to learn how to do what's right. You know, now that I've been gone so long, I done figured out how to do something different. Now I want to do something different in life. I want to go home and love my family. I could have stayed home and loved them from the start with, you know. And I ain't talking about this. I ain't talking about this crime. I'm talking about the other crime. The crime that I should have never had before. And then the court or the jury or nobody wouldn't have looked at me like I was some type of bad person.
That's right.
That's why I'm in prison. That's why I'm in prison.
Hey, could you tell the listeners of Behind the Walls what a second chance means to you out of society? For you to get your case overturned and for you to have your innocence proven, what would that mean for you?
Man, if I could go home and spend some time with my family and my mother, she's getting old, man, it would mean a lot. I haven't never gave her nothing. Only thing I have gave her is a headache. That's it. Now I want to give her something. She done lost her daughter. She done lost her grandson. She done lost her baby boy grandson.
From the North Carolina Correctional Facility.
He's facing the death sentence right now, and she done lost her son. So if I could get a chance to go back home to my mother and be able to spend some time.
This call is from the North Carolina Correctional Facility.
Before she go to her grave, man, that would be the most blessed thing that a man could want in the whole civilization of this whole world. And not only that, you know, I could go home and be able to go out and speak to these young children about what my experience has been. You know, keep these people from resorting to gang culture, drugs, and things of that nature. You know, I always had an inspiration to be able to do that. So it's already, you know, in me to do that, you know, to go to these schools, you know, to talk to these young children, you know. That's my vision. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be rich. I want to be rich with the knowledge that I have and with the wisdom that I have to be able to go amongst the youth, to be able to speak to them, to strive to deter them from falling victim to this type of system and falling victim to a bullet. That's what I want to do. And I would love to do it.
Hey, Mr. Leach, I'm going to tell you something, man. This has been a wonderful interview, man, and I've enjoyed your company, man. I've enjoyed your words of wisdom, your intelligence, your articulate wordplay. Hey, yo, man, you're definitely an inspiration to all those that are fighting for freedom, man. And I want you to continue your fight for freedom. You know, we're going to support you at Behind the Walls Talk. We're going to be here for you and do the best we can for you. Is there any last words you would like to share with the listeners of Behind the Walls Talk?
Yeah, I got one. In closing, I would like to say that, you know, in life, sometimes we are dealt a bad hand. And like the scriptures say, the just man falls 7 times. Just because you got dealt a bad hand don't mean that you got to keep losing. You can win sometime, but you got to be inspired and you got to have strength and you got to have vision to win. Just like they say, the just man, if he stay down on the ground when he falls, then guess what? He's down on the ground. But if he get back up, he can start back walking and he can start back moving forward. I just say get back up and start back moving forward. That's what I'm doing. Even though I've been in prison for a long time, I'm fighting for my freedom. I ain't gave up. I'm walking around a lot of dudes that done gave up. I ain't. I still see freedom.
Definitely with
that.
The broken ones, man.
Yeah, with that, I'm going to say peace, bro.
Yeah. So all you listeners out there behind the walls talk, this is my brother Chris Leach, man. His name, his opus number, his pictures, everything's on the website, on our YouTube channel. Make sure you contact this brother. Make sure you support this brother in his struggle for freedom. And make sure you look at this brother's case and make sure you see the inconsistencies that the justice system had against his case and against him as well. So please, with that said, peace from Behind the Walls Talk.